Introduction to the world of female frequency cultivation novels. It is not advisable to stay up late at night. It is advisable to stay up all night. Otherwise, it will travel through. 1. There is a way to take death, it is terrifying like this. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It is not advisable to stay up late at night. It is advisable to stay up all night. Otherwise, it will travel through. Yundan Shi scratched his head in a daze, looking lost in thought. He finally accepted his suspicion of wearing a book. The reason why it is suspected is because he had a dream last night, dreaming that he was in a vast world of female frequency cultivation novels. And as soon as he opened his eyes, he realized that he was really in this world. This female protagonist's cultivation novel tells the story of a female supporting character who, after being reborn, steals the man and opportunity of the original female protagonist through various arrangements, then falsely accuses and frames the original female protagonist, ultimately making the original female protagonist dislike dogs. Even if passing by a tree, that tree will easily take a branch. The reason why this female cannon fodder wanted to turn over the original female protagonist and prevent her from turning over forever was because she was too close to a member of an enemy royal family and was discovered by the original female protagonist. Coincidentally, at that time, this female supporting figure happened to reveal court secrets to the royal family members of the enemy country. So, the supporting woman was arrested. After being convicted of colluding with the enemy and betraying the country, this female supporting figure was supposed to be beheaded because it was not the first time she had revealed court secrets to a member of the enemy's royal family. However, this woman was accompanied by a general father, who died in battle for the court. In addition, her father's generals also held important positions in the court. Therefore, due to some concerns, the Emperor of Yao ordered a pardon and instead exiled this woman. Later on, what happened to this female supporting character? Yundan Shi didn't dream about it in his dream. He only dreamed that after the female supporting character was reborn, he thought he was right. Although she was only sharing some irrelevant things with his best friend, he wanted to go up to the top of the line with her. In addition, the hatred towards the original female protagonist was even more extreme. Upon hearing this, Yundan Shi couldn't help but think of the final fate of the original female protagonist in her dream, and suddenly trembled. Because he also has a role to play. In his dream, he had a very close friendship with the original female lead. But that's not the key. The key is that in that dream, he refused to provide help to the female lead, so the female lead believed that he was targeting her and that he was seeking justice. Therefore, before tormenting the original female lead, he killed him first. This made Yundan Shi feel a bit uneasy in his heart. Because he is very clear that he is an ordinary person with low emotional intelligence, average intelligence, and an honest personality. How can he fight against these cheating demons? No, according to the routine of female novels, I don't even have the qualifications to be friends with the original female lead. Yundan Shi looked at his reflection in the water at this moment. Having upright facial features, not ugly, but not quite good. Looking. Although Zhu Zi once said, "A thick willow dustpan and a thin willow bucket, who in the world finds a man ugly? A great man, no need to worry about his appearance." But according to the basic laws of female novels, even a spirit beast next to the female lead should have a clear and handsome appearance. How could his ordinary appearance become a friend of the female lead? If we say that after his time traveling, his appearance may not be good, but he also has an extraordinary background, such as the second generation of the immortal city, after the great emperor, the young master of the demon sect, the king of the underworld, and the richest person in the world, it's just that he is just a small casual cultivator like a constant sand. Compared to other casual cultivators, he is only in his early 20s because of his youth. He is young enough and has a slightly higher chance of being favored by those immortal sects and being recruited as a disciple of the outer courtyard. There are no mortals in this world. Of course, to put it more accurately, there is no ordinary person who has not practiced before. Because people in this world have spiritual roots for cultivation. Originally, this method of cultivation was also cherished by various immortal sects. Not only were basic techniques passed down, but also one or two half-true and half-false mnemonics passed down, all of which would kill the whole family. However, later on, these immortal sects, whether righteous or evil, gradually realized that the cost of cultivating their own disciples was too high. Even if carefully selected at the beginning of recruitment, this disciple is prone to becoming crooked and unable to bear the heavy burden of the immortal sect. Unfortunately, these disciples have been continuously investing resources in training since the beginning of their journey, and they also need to receive a certain amount of spiritual stones every month. Although a disciple is only a small number, what about dozens or hundreds? Therefore, after experiencing excessive mining of underground spiritual veins and stones, which led to the decline of heaven and earth spiritual energy, these high-level members of the immortal sect gathered together and after careful consideration, decided to cultivate basic disciples. Instead of suffering from their own hardships, it is better to let this world cultivate them themselves. So, various immortal sects began to publicly disclose a large number of basic cultivation methods, from nobles to peddlers and soldiers, as long as they were individuals who could remember how to cultivate, they could go to practice. And the effect of this approach far exceeds the imagination of these immortal sections. The world is crazily embroiled, and each talented person is not only easily discovered by them, but also taken into their pockets. Although the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is decreasing day by day, the level of prosperity in this world of cultivating immortals has reached the highest level in history. The three major realms of Chuyuan, Yuqing, and Taisu. In the past, cultivators Taisu had always been in a legendary state, with many rumors related to it, but no one had actually seen it. Moreover, whether it's cultivator Taisu or cultivator Yuqing, they can all become top-level experts in a great immortal sect. But right now, cultivator Taisu and all the major immortal sects are almost at their fingertips. However, on the contrary, a large number of scattered cultivations have naturally emerged, with varying levels of cultivation. In the end, for the sake of convenience in differentiation, the original small realm of initial realm and upper realm was divided into 9 layers in the primary realm. That is, the first and second floors of primordial elements. Until the 9th floor of primordial elements. The 2 major realms of Yuqing and Taisu are still only divided into the initial realm and the upper realm. And Yundan Shi is now on the 3rd floor of Chuyuan. A relatively good, but inevitably somewhat awkward realm. In addition to being a practitioner of the 4th level of the primordial era, who can use some magic weapons to fly in the air for a short period of time, the 3rd and 4th levels can be considered as a major watershed, and it is also related to the selected techniques of the predecessor, Yundan Shi. Cloud and Water Siyugong. A volume is not only among the publicly available cultivation methods, but can also be considered the top level. Even if you look at the entire cultivation world, it can be considered a top-level cultivation method. However, there is a reason why these spells can be made public or even used as basic spells. The beginner's level of cultivation in this volume of Yun Shui Jian Yugong is exaggerated. It is said that a dog has learned it on its own after seeing its owner practice for more than half a year. However, if it wants to further improve this technique, it is difficult enough to make its scalp tingle. In addition, practitioners are also required to spend years eating, sleeping, and sleeping outdoors, accompanied by the sun and moon, walking alone between mountains, forests, lakes, and rivers, experiencing the clouds, water, and mountains, in order to slowly promote their skills. Simply put, it means that not only does one need to practice hard with a disheveled face, but the improvement of their cultivation skills will also be very, very slow. As for why Yundan Shi, his predecessor, chose such a cultivation method, it's not that this kid is ambitious and arrogant. The origin of this predecessor is a bit complicated. Its biological father was once in a family downfall and was chased, but was unexpectedly saved by a peasant girl. And this rural woman is naturally the birth mother of her predecessor. Originally, this day was just fine, but the biological father of this predecessor had an uncle of the same age who was a ruthless man. He entered the palace from the palace and spent more than 10 years gaining power, leading to the revival of the family. As a result, the biological father of his predecessor no longer looked up to his original wife as a peasant woman, and after divorcing his wife, he married a well-matched family. And the biological mother of her predecessor, who had a tough personality, hung herself in a fit of anger. The predecessor also hated his biological father for this and often argued with him based on it. After many times, his biological father angrily said, "Without me, you are nothing." Therefore, the predecessor left a letter and followed a group of scattered cultivators to the immortal city thousands of miles away for asceticism. After hearing that this, cloud and water seeing Yugong, was the most impressive, the predecessor wanted to rely on this magic technique to prove himself. However, although his predecessor had perseverance, he practiced for a full 10 years until Yundan Shi crossed over. Perhaps due to the combination of dual soul powers, he barely broke through to the third level of the primordial element. It can only be said that zhaoshuyuan.com was really heartless when they coaxed this kid to Yun Shui Jian Yugong, which was the most impressive. Yun Jingxiu has a headache. Because he calculated the time in his mind and found that there was less than half a year left until he was killed in his dream. This calamity is actually easy to get through. After all, the reason why the reborn female partner killed him is very clear, so be careful to avoid it when the time comes. But, after avoiding this calamity, there is no guarantee of a second calamity after all. The reincarnated female lead is the one who has a way of taking death. Ha! What is this thing? Suddenly, Yun Jingxiu found a strange object added to his field of vision. Like a progress bar. And next to this progress bar, there is also a strange line of symbols. Yun Jingxiu didn't recognize these symbols, but when he looked over, he understood the meaning of this strange line of symbols. The first heavenly day of Yun Shui Jian Yugong. Cloud-weaving mountain, rising water and heavy range, 14%. Yun Jingxiu couldn't understand, so he began to try various things. It wasn't until 3 days later that he finally understood what this thing in his field of vision represented. The sky is high and the earth is thick, carrying goods. As long as Yun Jingxiu puts in persistent effort towards something, then that thing, or more precisely, his special ability, will eventually make him successful. Those who work hard will not be let down by heaven, while those who help themselves will be helped by heaven. At this point, the symbols seen by Yun Jingxiu also underwent subtle changes. The first heavenly day of Yun Shui Jian Yugong. The cloudy weaving mountain rises with water and mountains, 17%. With the 3% push, Yun Jingxiu suddenly had an unprecedented insight into the practice of cloud and water seeing Yugong. 2. Give you one defeat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The clouds weave like overlapping peaks, and the water falls like scattered clouds. This wonderful feeling, in just an instant, pushed Yun Jingxiu's cultivation skills forward by a large margin. It's really a big part. Because of this alone, he jumped into the realm of the fourth level of the primordial element. Everything seems to come naturally. There was a faint cloud-like aura emanating from his body, which was a sign of the fourth layer of the primordial era's hair cutting and marrow washing. This also represented that Yun Jingxiu only needed to use his magic weapon to fly 10 or more zhang above the ground in a short distance. When practice makes perfect, it is possible to be tens of zhang off the ground or hundreds of zhang away from the sky. With just a 17% advancement rate of cloud-weaving mountain, rising water, and heavenly range, my cultivation level has reached the fourth level of the primordial yuan, and this is only the first level of the cloud water seeing Yugong. This volume of martial arts is truly worthy of its reputation. Although Yun Jingxiu is a newcomer, thanks to the memories of his predecessor, he cannot be said to be a knowledgeable and extensive writer about the cultivation world of this world, but he is clear about some basic things. It was precisely because of this that he was shocked. However, in addition to being shocked, Yun Jingxiu was still more excited at this moment. The ability of "the sky is high and the earth is thick and capable of carrying things" has a much better effect than he imagined. The saying, "the sky is high and the earth is thick, carrying things" is a bit convoluted. Since that's the case, I'll change my name to "the sky is healthy" in the future. Having established the title of his talent, Yundan Shi was ready to leave the mountain. Because of this unexpected breakthrough in cultivation, it can be considered as giving Yundan Shi a new direction of choice. In his early 20s, he has a slightly higher chance of being recognized by those immortal sects and being recruited as a disciple of the outer courtyard. But this young man on the 4th floor of the Yuan dynasty is 100%. Moreover, there are many cultivators who can use magic weapons to fly in the air for a short period of time, regardless of which immortal sect. Because this is a high-quality labor force. And Yundan Shi's plan was to find an immortal sect and join its outer courtyard, in order to avoid the original female lead and the reborn female partner. The original female protagonist had no grudge against Yundan Shi, so he naturally wouldn't provoke her for no reason, and at the same time, he didn't want to continue her relationship. And the reborn female villain, because she knew too much about the original female lead's fate, and even at the beginning of Yundan Shi's dream, she already had the trump card of Yuqing cultivator, so Yundan Shi naturally didn't want to provoke her. This wall hanging is really difficult to measure by common sense. As for turning enemies into friends, Yundan Shi never thought about it, because in his dream, this woman had slaughtered him. The feeling before his death was so real that Yundan Shi was worried that he would show hostility at the first sight of him. At this time, the mountain where Yundan Shi is located is called Creole Mountain, which is a very common small mountain near Shangbao Immortal City. Due to the scarcity of spiritual energy, those who come here to practice are either because the rent of the cave in the Shangbao Immortal City is too expensive, or because the martial arts are special and require the use of mountains and forests to cultivate their skills. Yundan Shi has both. And Shangbao Immortal City is one of the 3 major immortal cities on this Qingjiazu. Immortal City was originally non-existent, but it gradually took shape due to the promotion of cultivation techniques. The construction of each immortal city is not a random site selection, but requires consideration of various aspects such as the richness of spiritual energy and the geographical environment. In addition, the opposition of the Yao dynasty, the Zhiling tribe, the Tianling dynasty, and the Wuyuan dynasty led to the final construction of only these 3 cities. The reborn female partner was born in the Yao dynasty, and the one who was hostile to the Yao dynasty was the Ling dynasty that day. The Cloudview cultivator came to this Shangbao Immortal City for the first time, but he remembers the relevant route, which is not unfamiliar to him. At first, there were few people on the road, but gradually, more and more people grew up. Although the promotion of cultivation techniques and social productivity have undergone significant changes, the most basic social activities have never changed much. For example, rushing to the immortal city early to find a job and earn the necessary income for a day. That means going to work. And due to the fact that everyone cultivates immortals, no matter how destitute they are, these people won't have a pale complexion, but each one has a weathered face. After all, it's a small casual repair at the bottom level. If you are in other places, you can domesticate a wild beast and take it for a walk. However, this is near the immortal city. After entering the city, you need to pay a cleaning fee to take the beast for a walk. Therefore, for those who are struggling, they will choose to walk. Yundan Shi is the same, but he excels in his youth, and with just breaking through to the 4th level of the primordial Yuan, he has achieved excellent skin color at this time. At this moment, Yundan Shi heard the call for help. Brother Yun. Brother Yun. Yundan Shi stopped because he recognized that he was one of the few people from his predecessor who could be considered a friend. This person's name is Zhang Yushu. At this moment, Zhang Yushu's expression was flustered, and his direction seemed to be coming out of Shangbao Immortal City. Don't go to the city today. An uncle of Mo Cheng successfully broke through to the 4th floor of the Chu Yuan era yesterday and was able to worship in the outer courtyard of the White Dragon Temple. Mo Cheng relied on his uncle and gathered a group of people to seek your trouble, Zhang Yushu said anxiously. Upon hearing this, Yun Jingxiu nodded. Brother Yun. Seeing Yun Jingxiu so calm, Zhang Yushu couldn't help but be taken aback. Yun Jingxiu pointed behind him and looked for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, saying, "They're here." In the direction pointed by Yun Jingxiu, several young men with ill expressions appeared. One of them was Mo Cheng, as Zhang Yushu had mentioned, because his predecessor, Yun Jingxiu, had stopped him from extorting other cultivators once, so he held a grudge against him. Although the difficulty of cloud and water seeing Yugong is extremely high, the skills cultivated are far more powerful than those of the same level, and it is well deserved for that contribution. The predecessor of Mo Cheng, who was not proficient in cultivator techniques, relied on his strong martial arts skills and directly beat Mo Cheng, who was already proficient in cultivator techniques at that time. Take care, Brother Yun. I'll go find the members of the Immortal City Law Enforcement Team for you. Zhang Yushu threw down this sentence and hurriedly ran away. This left Yun Jingxiu somewhat stunned. No wonder in the memory of his predecessor, this person was described as a friend. At that moment, Mo Cheng, who saw this scene, had already laughed. Ha 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 ha, Yun Jingxiu, you are his mother today. Yun Jingxiu replied calmly. What do you mean? Forget it, I'm not deceiving you either. As long as you surpass our brothers today, we'll clear our grudges. Mo Cheng said, knowing that it shouldn't be too late. Once the members of the Immortal City Law Enforcement Team arrive, he will also suffer. Okay, since you sincerely request it, then I'll agree to it. Yun Jingxiu paused for a moment as he spoke. Give you a defeat. As these words fell, Yun Jingxiu's body emitted a faint, misty aura, and his cuffs were silent and hunting made a sound. The fourth floor of Chuyuan. Mo Cheng was shocked. The boys who were called by Mo Cheng turned their heads and ran without saying a word. Brother Mo, hold on, we'll go find the people from the Immortal City Law Enforcement Team for you. 3. What am I doing? It's not me who hit you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yun Jingxiu dealt Mo Cheng a clean beating, even though he didn't know how to become a cultivator. It was really easy for him to defeat Chu Yuan's second level on the fourth level of Chu Yuan. Of course, besides that, it is also related to Mo Cheng's path of martial arts cultivation. The means chosen by the cultivator to protect the enemy's path also determine the path that the cultivator will take in the future. The called cultivation refers to the use of external objects to use techniques to achieve certain goals. For example, origami as a bridge, sowing beans as soldiers, praying for rain from the top of a basin, and looking for pictures to call out for dragons. These are all means of cultivation. Among them, using origami as a bridge is the easiest way to cultivate, as the borrowed foreign objects needed are easily available for purchase. This type of cultivation method has also become the preferred choice for many casual cultivators. The techniques practiced by Mo Cheng, although not such as origami as a bridge, are of similar grade. Named Rui True Fire. Utilize a type of external object that is prone to ignition, allowing it to be controlled by oneself, such as spraying fire to transform a dragon or wielding fire to burn dust. It is said that this Rui True Fire cultivates to a high level, without the need for external objects, and can also transform into flowing fire and change freely. Watching naturally does not have such a profound realm, and even Yun Jingxiu, relying solely on his martial arts skills, wiped out the Rui True Fire of this scumbag. After all, the difference in cultivation between the two is quite significant. Moreover, the 4 layers of Chu Yuan are still a watershed in the realm of Chu Yuan. In the year of the Weak Crown, the third level of the first element has a high probability of being accepted as an outer disciple by a certain immortal sect just because of their youth. In the year of the Weak Crown, the 4th layer of the primordial element will be accepted as an external disciple by any immortal sect. The value of this 4th layer of the primordial element is evident. Yundan Shi solved this small problem and entered the Xiangbao Immortal City. The scale of this Xiangbao Immortal City is very large. Even cultivators on the 4th level of the primordial yuan can fly continuously with the help of magic treasures. Without considering the inability to renew their cultivation skills, they have to fly for 2 days to cross it. In fact, Yundan Shi, the predecessor, stayed in this Xiangbao Immortal City for 10 years and was only familiar with a small area within this city. This area is called the Three-Water Treasure Land. It also accommodates nearly 70% of the primordial monks in the entire Xiangbao Immortal City, because the cave here has low rent, extremely low living expenses, and there are often high-level primordial monks from other regions who come here to find short-term workers. However, also because this place gathers scattered cultivators from various sources, there is a mix of good and bad, and the order is very chaotic. There are hundreds of gangs, big and small, competing with each other here. Of course, there is still peace and stability on the surface. Otherwise, the big shots in Xiangbao Immortal City wouldn't look good on their faces either. However, Yundan Shi did not go to the familiar Three Waters Treasure Land in his mind. He arrived at another clean and tidy area that was constantly patrolled by law enforcement teams. "Stop, what are you doing here?" A member of the Immortal City law enforcement team stopped Yundan Shi, looked up and down at him, and then spoke coldly. Fortunately, he broke through the 4th level and came to seek immortality, Yundan Shi said, demonstrating his cultivation. The characteristics of the 4th layer of the primordial element are easy to recognize, and when the skill is stimulated, there will be a layer of misty atmosphere surrounding the body. Seeing Yundan Shi reveal his cultivation, the member of the Immortal City law enforcement team nodded slightly, but his attitude did not change much, and he scolded with a hint of arrogance, "This place is full of extraordinary immortal sect figures. You'd better be honest. I don't care what your position is in that Three-Water Treasure Land, but when you come here, you're nothing." What can Yundan Shi do? Naturally, I showed a well-behaved and obedient demeanor. Seeing how knowledgeable Yundan Shi was, the law enforcement officer of the Immortal City waved impatiently and said, "All right, let's go in. By the way, I think the disciples of the Hualong Immortal sect are quite good. You can give it a try." "I understand, thank you for reminding me, sir." Yundan Shi repeatedly agreed, while also showing a joyful expression to thank him. The person from the Immortal City law enforcement team didn't say a word and walked away on his own. It was only in his interest that he added this sentence. Yundan Shi immediately entered the block where many immortal sects were stationed at the External Disciples Recruitment Office. He looked up and only felt that this block was very large, at least larger than the Three-Water Treasure Land. However, compared to the overcrowding of the Three Waters Treasure Land, there are very few cultivators here. Especially in the Three-Water Treasure Land caves, one room is often less than 10 feet in length and width. Here, at any entrance of the Immortal Gate, the recruitment area for disciples is at least 100 zhang in length and width. As for the level of luxury in decoration, there is no need to go into too much detail. At this moment, Yundan Shi saw the plaque of Hualong Immortal Gate, but his gaze swept over it directly. People live in this world without worldly wisdom. Similarly, bustling places like this are often filled with a large number of intertwined interests in places that people cannot see. Yundan Shi doesn't believe in a person whose attitude can't be considered kind, and will kindly guide him to a registration office. After turning his gaze a few times, Yundan Shi finally determined the immortal sect he wanted to join. Grass Spirit Immortal Sect. This is an immortal gate that he had dreamed of in that dream, but it is not well known in Qingjiazu. It is just one of many small immortal gates, and there is only one Yuqing cultivator sitting inside the gate. And the reason why Yundan Shi cares about it is because this immortal sect will teach external disciples the method of alchemy. You should know that alchemy is very important for any cultivator. Immediately, Yundan Shi quickly stepped forward. Although the Grass Spirit Immortal sect is small, the standard for admitting disciples from outside has not been lowered as a result. After revealing the 4 levels of cultivation in the Cloud View Cultivation, he was naturally not troubled, and in less than a cup of tea before and after, he obtained a waste token representing the identity of a disciple outside the Grass Spirit Immortal Gate. Made of jade, with a grass-like plant carved on one side and the character Ling on the other. This token can represent identity, so naturally it won't be without any supernatural powers. Firstly, this is a magic weapon that can be used by Cloud View cultivators to fly off the ground. Secondly, the grass-like pattern, stimulated by cultivation skills, can transform into a vine, tightly wrapping people. You can use this to trap the enemy, or you can use it to withstand a fatal blow. Of course, this transformed vine has a limit on its binding and resistance. Generally, cultivators on the 6th level of the primordial yuan can use their power to instantly break through. Although there are significant limitations, Yundan Shi is still delighted about it. Because he finally has some means of self-protection. The cultivation method of Yun Shui Jian Yugong has been passed down, but there are no related supernatural means. As for other methods of protecting the enemy's path, it was already extremely difficult for him to survive unscathed for 10 years without any psychological abnormalities, even when he came to the Baoxian city alone to practice hard. The cultivation method of Mo Cheng's Rui True Fire technique was obtained from his uncle. And his uncle has been living in Shangbao Immortal City for over 20 years, and now he is in his 40s. Alright, once you receive your waste token, you can be considered as a member of our Grass Spirit Immortal sect. Our Grass Spirit Immortal sect keeps things simple and doesn't like superficial martial arts, so we won't hold the introductory banquet. If you like, you can do it yourself. Now you start doing things, said a cultivator of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect at this moment. It is not only Yundan Shi who worships the Grass Spirit Immortal sect together, but also the external disciples recruited by these immortal sects cannot be fully cultivated. The identity of this external disciple is not so much a disciple as a qualification to take on tasks. At this point, there is a task list placed in front of Yunjing's face sculpting. The above lists various tasks and the rewards that can be obtained for completing them. The tasks above are not difficult either, and most of them do not pose any danger, but it takes time and effort to keep running around. This is also another key reason why one can obtain a magic weapon as soon as they join the outer gate. At this point, Yundan Shi also found the task. A task to search for a special stream water stone near a Lingtan. This type of stream stone, although called stone, is actually the bone of some fish. This task is not very difficult, but it takes a lot of time. Often, after a whole day, I can't find 1 or 2 pieces. For others, this task is undoubtedly a waste of life. Even for cultivators who have practiced the cloud and water seeing Yugong, this kind of search task is actually a way of asceticism that meets the requirements of the martial arts, but the ultimate result is the same. But Yundan Shi has the saying, heavenly health. Moreover, the reward for completing this task has 2 options. One is to teach a lesson on elixirs, and the other is to choose a divine skill that matches one's own magic technique. These 2 are what Yundan Shi currently wants. However, unlike ideal fullness, reality is always very bone-like. That spiritual pond is owned by the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. It was brought over by the cultivators of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect during the first time of Yunjing cultivation. Then, Yundan Shi searched for it all day but couldn't find a single piece. No wonder mission rewards are so rich compared to others. In the memory of my predecessor, I only heard about it and didn't know its details. After thinking for a moment, Yundan Shi prepared to take a break. However, at that moment, he suddenly realized that a figure had emerged from the spirit pool. Upon closer inspection, it appears to be a young girl. Where did this come from? Yundan Shi was shocked. Near the spirit pool, the formation had been set up by cultivator Yuqing from the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. Unless he took the waste token of a grass spirit immortal sect disciple and went to the book garden www.xiaozuiyuan.com, he could not enter. Are they other disciples from outside the sect? Yun Jingxiu felt that the girl still had a vital energy, and as a fellow disciple, it was not easy to turn a blind eye to death, so he quickly started to rescue people. After rescuing the person, Yun Jingxiu realized that the girl was quite good looking. Dai Mei has a beautiful face, small and charming. So, originally I wanted to casually put the person on the ground, but instead I wanted to put her on a nearby tree branch, and then light a fire below to help her dry her clothes. Not long after, perhaps smoked, the girl woke up leisurely. She saw Yun Jingxiu at first glance and asked, "Did you save me?" Yun Jingxiu nodded. On the delicate little face of the girl, her eyes lit up with a hint of allure. She quickly asked, "Save people to the end. Do you have any healing potion on you?" Yun Jingxiu shook his head. "Do you have any healing immortal powers?" the girl continued to ask. Yun Jingxiu shook his head again. "Do you have any healing treasures?" Yun Jingxiu shook his head for the third time. "What would you do?" The girl was shocked, as she had never seen such a 3 knots practitioner before. "I don't know anything," Yun Jingxiu said sincerely. The girl with a dull face, as if she had seen a ghost, said, Yun Jingxiu didn't feel embarrassed when she looked at him like this. With a wooden face, he said, "What am I doing? It wasn't me hitting you. Do you have anything that can help your body recover? Do you want hot water? It's just boiled." Yun Jingxiu pointed to the pile of fire, with a pot of water boiling on top. He cooked it while helping her dry the clothes. For, to cultivate immortality, one must understand human relationships and worldly wisdom, otherwise accidents will occur in seconds. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The girl has bright eyes, delicate facial features, beautiful and elegant, with a touch of charm. She just looked at Yun Jingxiu like this, and after a while, she said, "Nah, did you often get beaten up before?" When the girl said this, her tone was particularly serious. I don't know why the girl asked this question, and Yun Jingxiu, who felt a bit conflicted, thought for a moment before turning his head to continue searching for the water and stones in the Lingtan. Completing the task is important. This time, Yun Jingxiu successfully found a piece. But when he surfaced from underwater, he found that the girl had long disappeared. But Yun Jingxiu was not surprised either. As for where this girl came from and what her identity was, he didn't care at all. After all, existence is reasonable, and this girl's appearance in this spiritual pond is mostly related to the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. Either a disciple of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect or an enemy of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. Both the former and the latter are not external disciples of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect like him, they should worry about it. For the Grass Spirit Immortal sect, he is just a high-quality labor force. A qualified and high-quality labor force should be enthusiastic, generous, and do more with less talk. If possible, it's best to keep quiet and keep working. The first heavenly day of cloud water meets Yugong. Cloud weaving mountain rises with water and heavy range, 20%. On this day, the information manifested by the ability of Taiyang Xingjian has undergone another change. As before, it has directly increased by 3%. However, this time Yun Jingxiu was unable to break through to the 5th level of the primordial element in one fell swoop. But this was also as expected by Yun Jingxiu. Since he broke through to the 4th level of the primordial element, he clearly felt the difficulty of cultivation and suddenly increased. And this also corresponds to the common sense of cultivation that he knows, or in other words, the law of cultivation. The deeper the cultivation, the harder it is to go further. In the realm of cultivation, it is common for cultivators to break through a layer of cultivation and not make any progress for decades to come. Unfortunately, I couldn't break through the 5th level, otherwise my martial arts would have accumulated momentum and I would have had the ability to intimidate others. However, as expected, Yundan Shi still felt a bit regretful. On the 4th floor of Chuyuan, you can use magic weapons to fly tens of zhang above the ground in a short period of time. And in the 5th layer of the primordial element, one has the ability to accumulate power and energy. That is to say, without the need for any means, relying solely on one's own strong skills can create spiritual pressure, making others feel both cold and fearful. Of course, there is also an upper limit to this spiritual pressure. Unless it is a disciple of the Immortal sect who cultivates independently, being on the 5th level of the primordial element can offset most of this spiritual pressure. I have also collected 20 pieces of Shishui stone, and finally I have completed the task. As Yundan Shi spoke, he raised his hand and took off his identity waste token. With the stimulation of his cultivation skills, this jade token grew in the wind and soon became the size of a chopping board. Not too big, but enough for one person to stand up. Then, Yundan Shi slowly rose into the air. He was not too high off the ground, just 4 or 5 zhang high, and his flying altitude was not as high as some ancient trees in this area. And Yundan Shi's flight speed is naturally not much faster. After all, he doesn't know how to escape, and now he relies solely on his strong martial arts to activate this jade plaque, which means he can only use brute force. During the time of picking up water and stones from the stream, Yundan Shi also made several test flights, but this time it was a serious flight back to the residence of the disciples of the Grass Spirit Immortal Gate in Xianxia Immortal City. The residence of the outer disciples is no longer on that street, but in a relatively secluded but garden full of flowers and plants in Xianxia Immortal City. Even if the Grass Spirit Immortal sect is ordinary in the cultivation world, it still has the dignity it should have in the Immortal City. And this is also one of the benefits of becoming an outsider disciple. For those who struggle to escape from the 3 water treasures, being able to live in an external courtyard that not only has a beautiful environment but also has independent caves for living is a dream. Outer courtyard is a general term for the residence of disciples from outer sections. Because most of the external disciples are stationed in the form of gardens. Therefore, the outer disciples of the Immortal sect are also abbreviated as the outer courtyard disciples. Ordinary casual cultivators are not qualified to fly within the Immortal City, but the disciples of the outer courtyard of the Immortal sect are naturally exceptions. Except for a few special areas where they cannot fly freely, other places in the Xianxia Immortal City can fly and escape on their own. At this point, Yundan Shi had returned to the outer courtyard of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. The task was received there, but there is no need to go there for the handover after the task is completed. It can also be done in this outer courtyard. 20 streams and stones, thank you for your hard work, junior brother Yun. The person in charge of task handover is also a disciple from the outer courtyard, named Lin Zhancheng. Although his cultivation is not high, he is only on the 5th level of the primordial yuan, but he has a relative who is an official disciple of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect and also an alchemist. Therefore, this fat difference fell into the hands of Lin Zhancheng. Otherwise, at least 6 levels of cultivation are required to achieve the ability to follow the trend and possess the spirit. Accompanying the spirit with the momentum is the fundamental skill of the 6th level of the primordial yuan. Lin Zhancheng's reputation is not small, and he should be greedy for any task rewards. Therefore, after accepting the creek water stone, he did not immediately declare Yundan Shi's request and did not speak again. He looked like an old god, closed his eyes and recuperated. This is implying the benefits of the fortress. However, Yundan Shi, who has always had low emotional intelligence, couldn't understand this, and even if he did, he wouldn't give it. Because I didn't have to give it. So, Yundan Shi slammed the table with force and loudly said, "Senior brother Lin, I worked hard to find enough stream water stones. I just want to obtain a method that matches my own martial arts. Please help me report it." Yuanben Yundan Shi was afraid that this scumbag would really fall asleep. How could he have thought that as soon as he finished speaking, a voice suddenly came from outside Lin Zhancheng's cave. Someone is going to do such a tedious thing as the creek, water, and stones. This disciple is good and willing to endure hardship. So go to the grass and wood pavilion, find the old man, and say it's me. There was another voice that sounded, and its purpose was to respond to the previous voice. In this discourse, to some extent, there is a hint of trying to smooth things out. At this moment, when he heard the two voices outside the cave, Lin Zhanqing's face also changed because he could hear the second voice, which was his support in the grass spirit immortal sect. Thank you both adults. Yun Jingxiu didn't care about these things. As soon as he heard what the other party said, he immediately headed straight to the grass and wood pavilion. Because after he walked out, he didn't find anyone outside Lin Zhanqing's cave. However, upon arriving at the grass and wood pavilion, Yun Jingxiu received a surprising news when he revealed that he was practicing the Yun Shui Jian Yugong. How dare you cultivate the Yun Shui Jian Yugong to the 4th level of the primordial era? What perseverance! That Qi Lao is the person responsible for guarding this grass and wood pavilion, not Young, with white hair and beard. The Qi Lao continued, what you don't know is that, unlike other Dharma formulas, there is really no matching method for this Yun Shui Jian Yugong. Compared to the ones that have been passed down, the collection of this Dharma formula by various immortal sects also includes some cultivation methods for Yuqing realm. How should one protect the enemy's way by practicing this technique? Yun Jingxiu couldn't help but ask. I don't know about this, here you are. This is an alchemy note. Your chance to become a contestant is gone, so let's try this alchemy. Although this alchemy method is difficult, there is still a chance of success. Maybe you will become an alchemist. This Qi Lao threw out a slightly shabby note and waved his hand to drive people away. Upon seeing this, Yun Jingxiu knew that his arms couldn't twist his thighs, so he had to clench his fists and leave with this note. As soon as Yun Jingxiu left, a disciple from the outer courtyard who was responsible for managing the grass and wood pavilion asked curiously, Uncle, why don't you give him a chance to switch to a different player? In theory, this is also compliant. This disciple from the outer courtyard belongs to the same clan as Qi Lao. It's compliant and true, but when this kid came, didn't you hear what he said? It was Master Lin Dan who sent him here. Today, Master Lin Dan accompanied the young master of the Huang family from the 8 major clans of Shangbao Immortal City. If I'm not mistaken, it's likely that this kid unintentionally caused Master Lin Dan to lose face. If I let this kid benefit, how could there be a good ending? This Qi Lao said quietly, after living in Shangbao Immortal City for so many years, he is naturally an old and refined person. Then, the Qi Lao patted his nephew's shoulder and said earnestly, you, pay more attention and listen. If you want to enter the immortal sect, working hard alone is not enough. You must have a noble person willing to help you. Those who only know how to bury their heads in work can only be disciples of the outer courtyard for a lifetime. After all, if someone who is willing to work hard enters the immortal sect, who will do those dirty and tiring jobs again? Thank you, uncle, my nephew has been taught. The disciple from the outer courtyard suddenly realized. 5 Wuna Harry Girl Show. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yun Jingxiu held the alchemy notes and naturally did not expect that his short words of following the instructions could allow a guardian cultivator in the grass and wood pavilion to interpret so much information, and even dishes, based on it. If he found out, he would inevitably sigh. With such high emotional intelligence, not being sent to the palace to become a eunuch is really a waste of talent. After all, only eunuchs are so good at judging people and dishes. At this moment, he had been flipping through the alchemy notes for most of the time. Alchemy notes by unknown alchemist of Grass Spirit Immortal Sect. Initial understanding of alchemy solution, 100%. After Yun Jingxiu tried several times to understand the content of this alchemy note, a new strange symbol suddenly appeared in his field of vision. In an instant, Yun Jingxiu suddenly felt enlightened, and he had already fully understood some alchemy notes that he had not understood before. Is this alchemy note so easy to understand? Yundan Shi was surprised, and his easy to understand statement was not about how easy it was for him to understand the alchemy notes, but rather about subconsciously comparing them to cloud and water seeing Yugong. But soon, Yundan Shi understood again. This should be because the alchemy notes are too basic. However, cloud and water seeing Yugong is a well-known difficulty in the entire cultivation world, with at least 9 of the 10 practitioners who practice this volume of method remaining at the second and third levels of the primordial yuan. This alchemy note mentions several methods of alchemy, including water refining, stone refining, seasonal refining, and borrowed time refining, in addition to the well-known method of alchemy in the Danlu fire refining. It can be said that the alchemy methods are quite detailed. Because except for those extremely cruel evil cultivation methods, they have already been listed on it. But the specific steps of alchemy are still limited to the most basic stage. This is just something for beginners in alchemy. Yundan Shi felt that he understood almost everything, so he went to the grass and wood pavilion again. The grass and wood pavilion outside the grass spirit immortal gate is not only responsible for receiving tasks and delivering rewards to disciples outside the gate, but also a place for buying and selling pills. In addition, some basic Dan Fong medicinal herbs are also sold here. However, there is no need to buy Yundan Shi. This is because the grass spirit immortal sect has a free opportunity to give medicine to disciples in the outer courtyard, which can also be considered as a welfare treatment for disciples in the outer courtyard. Yundan Shi is ready to take this opportunity to exchange for a corresponding medicinal herb of Mudan. Mudan is a type of pill that can be refined by a furnace fire, water, or stone. The specific effect of this pill is to increase the practitioner's perception of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in a short period of time. The sensitivity of practitioners to the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can affect their cultivation efficiency. Mudan, as a type of pill, does not significantly enhance spiritual induction. However, due to its mild medicinal properties and suitability for most cultivation techniques, as long as it can be refined, there is no shortage of buyers. It is said that some cultivators of evil martial arts will find a few Mudan to ease their conflicts and their qi and blood flow in reverse. The prescription of this pill by the grass spirit immortal sect is included in this alchemy note, and the intention is also very obvious, which is to have several disciples from their own external courtyard who can refine this pill. Although there are alchemists in the grass spirit immortal sect, there is always a need for this type of elixir. Yundan Shi arrived at the grass and wood pavilion. That Qi Lao is not here. It is said that he went to visit someone, but Yundan Shi doesn't care. He directly explained his purpose to the disciples in charge of the grass and wood pavilion. What? Do you want to refine pills? The remaining steward disciple was naturally the nephew of the same ancestor of the Qi Lao, named Qi Tongtian. At this moment, Qi Tongtian was very surprised and couldn't help but blurt out, "Didn't you take that basic alchemy notebook a few hours ago?" Qi Tongtian's words fell into silence, and a disciple from the outer courtyard couldn't help but speak, "After watching for a few hours, I feel like I know it. Are you trying to take this medicinal herb and sell it privately?" Speaking of which, the disciple from the outer courtyard looked at Yundan Shi with disdain. Then, the disciple from the outer courtyard turned his head and aligned with Tong Tian, saying, "Senior brother Qi, please don't give it to him. Giving it is also a waste. I can see many people like him." Yundan Shi couldn't help but glance at the disciple from the outer courtyard. She was a female cultivator, not young, 15 or 16 years old, with an average appearance, but surpassing her youth, so she could also be considered a beauty. Yundan Shi's gaze remained calm. After determining which one was using Mao to inexplicably slander and mock him, he withdrew his gaze and looked at Qi Tongtian, saying, "Could you please lend me the water grinding table for a while, senior brother?" The water grinding table is the alchemy tool required for water refining. Unlike pills refined by the Dan furnace fire, which are round and round like pearls, pills produced by the water refining method often have different shapes and sometimes even look like millet. Upon hearing Yun Jingxiu's words, Qi Tongtian instructed him to follow the rules. Because all of this is compliant. And even if he did it, he wouldn't indirectly offend that Lin Dan teacher. After all, if you were to obstruct at this moment, it would be a violation. Although these minor violations are not a big deal, I'm afraid that if someone talks about this matter after he is recommended to the Grass Spirit Immortal sect in the future, even if there is Lin Dan Shi as his recommender, his entry application will be postponed. Once postponed, it is easy to have long dreams at night. Qi Tongtian quickly arranged for Yun Jingxiu, because the water mill was located next to the grass and wood pavilion, and it was also outdoors. What he needs to do is just record Yun Jingxiu's name, and then he can lead Yun Jingxiu over. However, this water grinding table was not used for nothing. So, before handing over the medicinal herb to Yun Jingxiu, Qi Tongtian specifically said, "Junior brother Yun, there is something you should know, but I still want to tell you again. You borrow a water mill, and if it works, you only need to sell this pill to the grass and wood pavilion at a price 20% lower than the market. But if you fail, you will have to go find 50 pieces of creek water stone." This is also another reason why Qi Tongtian arranged so happily. After all, what's the difference between coming to alchemy after watching for a few hours and finding trouble to eat on your own? Finding creek water stones is really hard and tiring. Even if given generous task rewards, few people go to take on tasks. For this reason, the Grass Spirit Immortal sect arranged the collection of stream water stones like a needle in a thread. This idea is not only shared by Qi Tongtian, but also by Yun Jingxiu, who was mocking the hairless female cultivator. In addition, she felt that she was not satisfied watching the good play alone, and called several sisters and male friars friends she knew. And these people also have other disciples from the outer courtyard who know each other well and have good relationships. In this way, because the gimmick of someone saw the alchemy notes for several hours, and felt that they could, and would come to the alchemy without thinking about death, was too attractive, Yun Jingxiu just observed the water mill here, and after confirming that it was exactly the same as the description on the alchemy notes, he found that there were many friars around the place more than 10 feet outside the water mill. Due to the construction of this water mill, it requires a small hill and a pond, so this area here feels like it's halfway up a mountain, with a significant slope. As a result, several cultivators actually borrowed their own treasures and flew up to watch. If it were someone with high emotional intelligence, I would have come up with a perfect solution by now. But Yun Jingxiu's emotional intelligence is average. So he looked straight at his fellow disciples with a wooden face and said in an extremely sincere tone, "You don't know how to refine pills. You can come and ask me, there's no need to steal knowledge like this." Although he didn't know why these people were watching him, if something went wrong, there would always be demons, so he mocked the group first to suppress his surprise. The disciples of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect, who were preparing to watch a good show, said, Then, some of these disciples from the outer courtyard couldn't help but laugh, and even everyone laughed along. And with such a smile, Yun Jingxiu stared directly at a cultivator, clasped his fists in front of him, and asked seriously, "Senior brother, may I ask why you're laughing?" Seeing Yun Jingxiu like this, the disciple from the outer courtyard felt a bit embarrassed. "Nothing. Nothing." With these words, the outer courtyard disciple hurriedly retreated. And with this incident, other cultivators dare not mock anymore. Although in their eyes, the failure of Cloud View cultivation pill is a predetermined fact, they really have no reason to mock it before this incident occurs. It's not a big deal. The mockery will be even more exaggerated later. Help this kid make a name for himself in the entire outer courtyard disciple world. Yun Jingxiu saw these people shut up, so he took the medicinal herb and began preparing to refine pills. The method of water refining is actually not difficult, and it is even the simplest among several alchemy methods. However, the outer courtyard of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect's water grinding platform was built too discreetly, coupled with the failure of refining, requiring the collection of 50 stream water stones, so this water grinding platform is rarely used by cultivators. Yundan Shi threw the medicinal herbs into the grooves and water pits on the grinding table one by one, and then pressed his palm against the edge of the water grinding table, vigorously stimulating his cultivation skills. Boom! The water mill began to rotate, and after 3 rounds, with a lotus-like fragrance, irregular small green-white solids constantly appeared in the concave puddle. This is the water-refined mulberry pill after becoming a pill. Upon seeing the situation, Yundan Shi immediately brushed his hand and took out all of these mu pills. 100% interpretation, there will indeed be no mistakes. At the same time, Yundan Shi was also certain of this matter in his heart. Before this, he only had some corresponding feelings, but now he can be completely certain. At this moment, all the disciples from the outer courtyard who witnessed this scene were stunned. Did it really become a pill? But Yundan Shi didn't care about them. He went straight to the hairless nun Shi and smiled at her, saying, "Don't think others are just as dirty because of your filthiness, let alone think you're not good. Just think others, think I'm not good either." 6. The first step of Yundan Master's healthy growth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yundan Shi handed the refined mu dan to Qi Tongtian, and after weighing it, he collected it in the grass and wood pavilion at a price 20% lower than the market price. The elixir refined by this water refining method is usually very loose and does not present a complete pill shape, so the price is calculated based on weight. The weight of Yundan Shi's mula pill weighed half or 2. So he ended up with 3 spirit stones. 2 spirit stones are intact, while the 3rd spirit stone has some defects, which is 20% lower than the market price. Subsequently, Yundan Shi left. As he watched him leave, both Qi Tongtian and the disciples from the outer courtyard who were watching, remained silent. They haven't recovered yet. After just a few breaths, suddenly someone said, "This guy's luck is really good." As soon as these words were spoken, these disciples from the outer courtyard began to speak one after another. "No way. It was my first time alchemy, and I actually became one. This luck is really indescribable, but this alchemy is just like this. It depends on luck, hey." The Grass and Wood Immortal sect has the intention of cultivating alchemists in a tilted manner, as these disciples from the outer courtyard have had some exposure to alchemy methods. Although in the hearts of many disciples in the outer courtyard, Yundan Shi had some luck, his reputation was still spread quickly within the outer courtyard of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect. Quickly, the Qi Lao also knew about it. After being stunned for a moment, he said to his nephew, "Report today's matter to the Immortal sect immediately, so as to add to your achievements." As guardians and managers of special places like the Grass and Wood Pavilion, they naturally have other tasks. This task is precisely to timely discover disciples from the outer courtyard with alchemy potential for the Immortal sect. Every time they find one, it can be considered their achievement. "Uncle, didn't you say that if we don't delay for a period of time, we will indirectly offend Master Lin Dan?" Qi Tongtian couldn't help but ask, as they had been in the outer courtyard for many years, and the news was naturally very well informed. For example, at this moment, they had a clear understanding of the fundamental reason why the Cloud View Society had offended the Lin Dan Master. Speaking of which, it's just 2 coincidences coming together. Firstly, Master Lin Dan happened to pass through the outer courtyard with the young master of the Huang family. Due to a sudden impulse, the 2 of them came in. However, along the way, they happened to encounter Yundan Shi, who was dissatisfied with being asked for benefits by the local master Lin Zhancheng, and then had a slight verbal conflict. Although Yunjing was just talking loudly during his cultivation, in the eyes of some people, his actions at that time were just a conflict with Lin Zhancheng. However, this was actually nothing at all. How could this Lin Dan Shi be known for his good face? And who doesn't know that Lin Zhancheng is his person? Therefore, Lin Zhancheng's lack of restraint, to the extent that someone committed the following actions, will undoubtedly make the Lin Dan master feel ashamed. That's when Master Lin Dan took the initiative to ask Yun Jing to repair this grass and wood pavilion. Because it's not about solving things at all, it's just about wanting to expose this issue right away. That is to temporarily dismiss Yun Jing's show. And this, Qi Lao, is also a personal genius, which is why he quietly cooperated with Lin Dan Shi to prepare a lesson for this newly introduced outer courtyard disciple. This can be said to be an intangible understanding of human relationships and worldly wisdom. Intentionally selling well to win favor. And such requests for favors will be tacitly accepted by the other party. However, with thousands of calculations, I didn't include this newly introduced outer courtyard disciple who not only has a talent for alchemy, but also has excellent qualifications. We're just doing business. This, Qi Lao, said so. As he has been in this outer courtyard for many years, he naturally understands the importance that Grass Spirit Immortal sect places on disciples with talent for alchemy. It doesn't seem like it's all about finding suitable disciples to preach. Although the mountain gate of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect is not within the Shangbao Immortal City, the cultivators have many means of communication. Therefore, upon receiving the information reported by Qi Lao, the Grass Spirit Immortal sect quickly reacted. The day had not yet completely darkened when a young cultivator dressed in splendid attire, although somewhat dusty, had an extraordinary temperament and a slightly proud expression, arrived at the entrance of Yun Jing Xiu's cave. "Brother Yun, please open the door and see me," the cultivator said. Upon hearing the sound, Yun Jing Xiu walked out and glanced at the cultivator. Although he didn't know him, he quickly clasped his fists and saluted. Because this cultivator has a wonderful flow of qi all around him. And if these qi machines stare for a long time, they may even create an illusion of looking directly at a large piece of towering ancient wood. This is the 6th level of the primordial era, bestowing divine power according to the trend. I've met this adult. Although disciples from the outer courtyard are also considered disciples, they are not qualified to be considered as formal disciples of the Immortal sect or the same sect. Yun Junior Brother doesn't need to be so polite. This is a token for freely entering and exiting the grass and wood pavilion. In the future, Yun Junior Brother can freely read the alchemy books of the grass and wood pavilion. In addition, Yun Junior Brother can use the water grinding platform once a month, and the loss of spirit stones required for using the water grinding platform does not need to be borne by Yun Junior Brother. If Yun Junior Brother doesn't use this water grinding platform that month, then the number of uses can be accumulated. The official disciple of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect said this, and his title for Yun Jingxiu was directly Junior Brother. Upon hearing these words, Yun Jingxiu understood in his heart that his deliberate alchemy of becoming a saint in front of others was not in vain. The identity of a disciple in the outer courtyard naturally cannot satisfy him. Moreover, as a disciple of an outer courtyard, one cannot learn anything good. What can be learned is only the leftover or basic things chosen by others. And he, who has a memory of his predecessor, also knows the difficulty of promoting to a formal disciple through the outer courtyard disciple of a casual cultivator. That is a class transition that requires at least 2 generations of effort. However, it is not entirely without shortcuts. Amazing talent and aptitude can be considered the best shortcut. And beyond that, there are things that one can showcase themselves, which can correspond to the needs of an immortal sect. Thank you very much, sir. Yun Jingxiu took the token and quickly thanked him. But he didn't change his name to Senior Brother. Because in his dream, he already knew that calling the other person a senior brother or sister before passing such a test would only provoke their disgust. They can call you Junior Brother or Junior Sister, and look for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com because it not only brings you closer, but also highlights their approachability, which can help build a good reputation. But the opposite is not possible. Because that is an offense to the official disciple status of the Immortal sect. Dragons do not dwell with snakes. In the eyes of the disciples of the Immortal sect, they themselves are dragons. As for the disciples of the outer courtyard, they are just snakes. Well, once you have fully mastered 10 types of elixirs and 2 methods of alchemy, activate this token. The cultivator said again and left directly. Is this asking me to become the most basic alchemist? Yundan Shi understood the other person's meaning. Because these 2 requirements are recognized as the basic abilities of alchemists. Since that's the case, let me first look for the corresponding book on borrowing the heavenly time refining method. Yundan Shi pondered. He didn't choose it casually, but because different alchemy methods have different effects after completing the pill. Among them, the practice of borrowing time from the heavens is the most special. Unlike the scattered form of water refining into pills, the gas form of pills is formed by the 4 seasons refining method, and the round and bead-like shape of pills is formed by the Dan furnace fire refining method. This pill, refined by the Xianxia refining method, is invisible and colorless. And once refined, no one except the alchemist is qualified to take it. This is a unique alchemy method that cannot be taken away from the fruits of labor. With the token in hand, Yundan Shi quickly obtained a detailed book on the practice of borrowing the heavenly time. However, as he returned to the cave and was about to carefully read it, he heard a soft voice suddenly ringing from his cave. Are you practicing this? In this soft voice, there is a hint of disgust. Yundan Shi listened to the sound but felt very familiar, and when he looked over and saw who it was, he became even more familiar. 7. When you are alive, you always agree. Even if you die, it's not for nothing. You are listening at novel full.audio. However, although familiar, Yundan Shi couldn't name her. And no wonder there was a strange expression in Yundan Shi's eyes at this moment. Because as I had seen before, she was still a delicate young girl in the prime of her life, and by now she might have jumped up and couldn't even touch her knees. This is like the whole person shrinking several times. How come you're not surprised at all about my arrival? At this moment, the girl, now accurately described as Little Bit, opened a pair of black and white clear eyes, looked up at her delicate snow-white face, and curiously asked. And she undoubtedly looked cute like this, but a hint of surprise suddenly appeared in Yundan Shi's eyes. Because Yundan Shi found that she looked a bit transparent. Is this the ghost of the underworld? This Qingdiazu is a place of underworld, which is extremely mysterious and information related to it is rarely circulated. Yundan Shi also learned through that dream that there is also a saying about the king of the underworld, in the underworld. However, although the underworld is mysterious, some things in the underworld have been widely spread in the cultivation world, such as folding paper into bridges, cutting paper into generals, and tying paper into bundles. These are said to have been passed down from a ghost in the underworld. Therefore, that ghost is revered as the ancestor of paper art. Hey! And seeing Yundan Shi hesitating to answer, a pale little hand swayed back and forth in Yundan Shi's line of sight. In that moment, Yundan Shi saw countless pale little hands. With the movement of these pale hands, Yundan Shi suddenly had the illusion of spinning around the world. However, after a moment, he realized that it was not his own illusion, but rather that the earth was really shaking. Did the earth dragon turn over? Yundan Shi was shocked. He was about to escape from the cave immediately, but at that moment, his pale little hand was gone, and the feeling of the earth overturning that day disappeared instantly. And when Yundan Shi saw the scene of the world calming down, he didn't know that the source of the earth shaking and mountain shaking was the ghost in front of him, which seemed to come from the underworld. Is this like a paper art master? So, in a moment of thought, Yundan Shi said, being is reasonable. If a girl comes here, she will naturally have her reasons. Those who practice should be calm, and not be surprised when dealing with things. But it seemed like you were about to run. The delicate little face was staring at Yundan Shi with a pair of big eyes. A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall, just suspected of an earth dragon turning over. For me, a young cultivator on the 4th floor of the primordial yuan, one mistake could lead to death. Therefore, the two cannot be confused, Yun Jing said calmly. This way. She believed Yun Jingxiu's explanation, and then saw her with an enthusiastic expression, asking Yun Jingxiu, do you have anyone you usually want to kill but dare not? What is this for, girl? Yun Jingxiu felt strange. You saved me before, so I'm here to repay you now. If you want to kill but dare not, I'll help you. Her delicate face was filled with a serious expression. Yun Jingxiu said, He thought for a moment, but his predecessor didn't have it, and he doesn't have it either, so he shook his head. After all, he didn't know that by chance, he had offended an alchemist. Do you have anything you usually want to do but dare not do? Not really, Yun Jingxiu said, but in fact, there were, such as killing the reborn female supporting actress. However, he felt that the person in front of him was probably not a match, so he dispelled this idea early on. Only those who know that dream can truly appreciate how outrageous that woman is in cheating. The means to enter the stage and win the comparable Yuqing cultivator. In less than a year, I went from the first level of the primordial era to the 9th level of the primordial era. Afterwards, it only took about a month to break through the bottleneck and shackles, step up to the sky, and enter the Jade Clear realm. You should know that Cultivator Yuqing has a special title of Exiled Immortal. Because as long as one cultivates the Jade Clear realm, then it can be considered, my fate is determined by me, not by heaven. Since then, Shouyuan has reached an infinite level of philosophy. As long as there are no problems such as injury, demonic cultivation, or abnormal mental state, one can continue to live. Of course, these issues are actually difficult to avoid, so most Yuqing cultivators have a lifespan ranging from 300 to 800 years. However, this is a personal issue and has nothing to do with the realm. Because in ancient times, there were records that many Yuqing cultivators lived for 1 or 2,000 years. There is even a Yuqing cultivator, whose Taoist name is Tai Xianyi, who has lived astonishingly for over 5,000 years. I am fully qualified to be called the Elder. And now there are also Yuqing cultivators who have lived for 800 years. Yun Jingxiu happened to see a Yuqing cultivator who had lived for 1,000 years in that dream. However, this Yuqing cultivator is very mysterious. Even the Immortal sect where he is located did not know that there was such a capable Yuqing cultivator in his own family. This shouldn't be. Upon hearing Yun Jingxiu say so, the shrunken girl's face was immediately filled with a strange expression, as if it felt unbelievable. How could there be no enemy even though this person is very talkative? What shouldn't be? Yun Jingxiu heard this mutter and went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Although he didn't know why the girl said that, from the delicate facial features on her small face, there was a slight change in her expression at this moment. He could guess that the girl must not have thought positively. It's nothing. The girl is a little guilty. After all, she speaks ill of others in front of others. Next time, you have to carry it on your back. After remembering this, the girl said, I mean, you don't have anything you want to do but dare not do, no one you want to kill but dare not. This will make me wonder how to repay the kindness. Actually, there's no need for this. Yun Jingxiu wanted to say that you could just pass on a few powerful divine powers to me, but it seemed too utilitarian and did not conform to his newly pretended persona of, cultivators should be careful of calmness and not be surprised in handling things. Therefore, he had to change his statement to this. Why not do that? As soon as the girl heard Yun Jingxiu's words, she refuted her opinion and said, when I live, I am always obedient. I dare not do this thing, I dare not do that thing, and no one dares to offend me. I'm afraid of causing trouble. If I die like this, wouldn't I die in vain? On that delicate little face, the expression was particularly serious at this moment. Upon hearing this, Yun Jingxiu thought carefully for a moment, then nodded in agreement and put forward his own suggestion. Why not, girl? You can give me something as long as it meets your gratitude requirements. Upon hearing what Yun Jingxiu said, the girl suddenly felt a sense of reason. She also remembered the method of borrowing time to refine pills that Yun Jingxiu had just caught a glimpse of. So she pointed to what Yun Jingxiu was holding in his hand and said with a disdainful expression, "Don't practice this anymore. If there is a problem, even if you refine it, it will be stolen by others." 8. The true magic still needs to be seen in the comments section. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Only then did Yun Jingxiu realize that apart from the evil ways, only the methods of alchemy, such as alchemy by fire and water, are complete and widely circulated. However, the methods of alchemy, such as stone refining, seasonal refining, and borrowing from the heavens, are all incomplete and incomplete. Especially the last alchemy method of borrowing time from heaven. Once one truly learns this alchemy method, the painstakingly crafted elixirs, without exception, end up making wedding clothes for others. Because this method of alchemy often takes years of time, after completing the pill, it often becomes a superior spiritual pill. There is only a simple classification method for basic spiritual pills and superior spiritual pills. And those who can be called the superior spiritual pill, even the worst, are greatly beneficial to cultivators on the 9th level of the primordial yuan, saving at least 10 years of hard work. If there is some top-notch spiritual pill to assist in practicing the cloud and water seeing Yugong, there is definitely great hope of entering the Jade Clear realm before the lifespan is exhausted. This kind of cultivation method will encounter many problems, so even if one enters the Yuqing realm, they can only enjoy those 300 years of longevity. But it can also be seen from this that the preciousness of this superior spiritual pill. This is something that can truly change people's lives against the heavens. Do you know the perfect method of borrowing heavenly time to refine pills, Mississippi? Yun Jingxiu couldn't help but ask. I don't know how to do it. Speaking these words, that little head shook so fast. But at the same time, a pale little hand also stuffed a black jade scroll into Yun Jingxiu's hand. But I know this. The soft voice fell, and Yun Jingxiu saw no more of this tiny figure in front of him. It disappeared without a trace in an instant. Yun Jingxiu, thank you very much for your generous gift, Mississippi. If you can achieve something, you will do your best to repay it in the future. After thinking for a moment, Yun Jingxiu clasped his fist and saluted the void, then said with a serious expression. With the fleeting means of movement, this person is likely a paper art master, like existence. And that ancestor of paper art has opened up the path of art cultivation. It is said that several Tai Su cultivators were finally able to reach this level because of the cultivation method passed down by this paper art master, which made the path of wood complete. As a cultivator's cultivation skills continue to improve, they will choose a path of cultivation. Art cultivation, magic cultivation, physical cultivation, formation cultivation, sword cultivation, etc. When this road reaches its end, it is time to step into the Jade Clear realm. To break through from the Jade Clear realm to the Tai Su realm, one needs to condense their own path. If this path is the path of wood, then it is not only necessary to master the Imu method in Dharma cultivation, the Qinglong aspect in physical cultivation, and the life and death array in formation cultivation, but also to learn the paper technique in technique cultivation. This is also the fundamental reason why some Yuqing cultivators, even after living for nearly 1,000 years, have not yet reached the threshold of the Taisu realm. The path of self-selection is too strong. So much so that when I wanted to condense, I realized that there were so many things I needed to repair that my scalp was almost numb. At this point, there is no way to back out. This is more than enough, restrain oneself. At this moment, Yun Jingxiu opened the black jade scroll. There was not a single word on this, but after Yun Jingxiu's gaze lingered for more than 3 breaths, many words and patterns suddenly appeared on the black jade book. Xianin Wanhun banner. Without hard work and practice, become brothers in the banner of thousands of souls. Yun Jingxiu couldn't help but twitch his lips as he looked at the refining method of this magic weapon and the note line. Then he looked at the next one. Positive and negative magic books. Fake demons are all refining flags, but true demons have already started writing books. After a pause, Yundan Shi continued to skip. Mother and Child 9 Heavenly Bell. Purple River Heavenly Ghost Sword. The 9-rank Lotus Platform of the Fire and Blood Sea. Yundan Shi silently closed a black jade book. First of all, aside from the crucial question of whether he could refine it, how could the treasures recorded in this jade book compete with each other for evil? It can only be said that it is truly a product of the underworld. Yundan Shi thought for a moment and decided to watch it for a while. At least he had seen it all. Even if he cannot refine it, he can broaden his horizons. If one day he encounters one of these treasures, he may be able to escape successfully based on his understanding of this treasure. However, upon closer inspection, Yundan Shi discovered another anomaly. The refining of these treasures, without exception, requires a clear jade realm. But they all mentioned a strange thing, which is that this type of magic weapon can be taken away with the cultivation of the primordial realm. A pure young body with at least 20 years of singleness in the primordial realm can use their own essence as a price to seize control of the magic weapon. The longer you stay single, the higher your chances of achieving success. If you are single for 30 years, you can win 100%. At the age of 30, it turned out that he wasn't skilled at rolling fireballs, but could shake the 10,000 soul banner and transform himself into an ancestor of the demonic world. Yundan Shi couldn't help but silently memorize this secret method of seizing. He is planning to wait until he is 30 years old to trouble a Yuqing realm demon cultivator. Although sorcerers are hard to come by, obtaining such a secret technique is a good opportunity. Yundan Shi is also very satisfied with this. Zhaozuiyuan.com. Although there was no direct benefit this time, relying solely on knowledge of the alchemy method was already profitable. After all, if no one told him about this kind of thing, he might have to work hard for years before he could slowly react. Moreover, if the pill he was refining at that time was a relatively rare pill, he might still encounter big trouble because of it. There have been rumors in the world of cultivating immortals that the Immortal sect has imprisoned alchemists. However, at this moment, Yundan Shi suddenly noticed that the black jade scroll began to fade, and as the black on top faded, new words and patterns appeared. Is this the Thunder Seal 3 Realms Law? This time, what appears on the jade book is a divine power. Looking at this divine power, Yundan Shi's expression was somewhat dull at this moment. Because this lightning magic skill was a chance for the original female protagonist, of course, in that dream, it was to be taken away by the reborn female character. Thunder seals 3 realms. One realm is thunder pardoned, with no birth and no death. The second realm is sealed, with life and death having impermanence and rebellion. The third realm praises eternity, with ancient and modern thunder techniques as one strike. Yundan Shi was stunned. This divine skill can be said to be the most powerful one in Qingjiazu. No one, even the unparalleled sword cultivator, can withstand up to the second level in front of the Thunder Seal 3 realms. Lei Yin's 3 realms are fully opened, instantly killing all Tai Su cultivators. It was precisely by relying on this Thunder Seal 3 realms that the reborn female supporting actress was able to overwhelm the original female lead in one fell swoop. But this is not the reason why Yundan Shi was stunned. He was so shocked entirely because of this great opportunity, which was discovered in a sudden appearance of an ancient immortal gate site a year later. Why is it appearing now? 9. The second step of Yundan Shi's healthy growth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It is impossible for Yundan Shi to know why such a divine power, which can determine the outcome of the Qi-Luck struggle, was born early. However, he has already confirmed that this is the peerless lightning technique he has seen in his dream. Because it took him a whole month to barely get Xianxia to react. Thunder Seal 3 realms. 1 Seal Thunder Amnesty, 0.1%. It was precisely because of this divine power that Yundan Shi realized that there was still 0.1% of the data displayed in this heavenly health display. He thought about it for a moment, and when he was learning the basics of alchemy, he suddenly jumped out with a large percentage, which seemed reasonable. And with the 0.1% understanding of the Thunder Seal 3 Realms technique, Yundan Shi naturally couldn't unleash such divine powers. However, by analogy, Yundan Shi also gained some insights into the thunder technique. This is the benefit of being far-sighted. However, despite this, it is difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. Yundan Shi does not have the corresponding thunder method to practice, and even with this understanding, he can only shake his head and give up. On the black jade scroll, before fading, the entire method of refining evil magic treasures had only become the divine power of Thunder Sealed 3 Realms after fading. As for Yundan Shi, he went to obtain a thunder technique on his own. This difficulty is a bit high. Although the cultivation techniques have been widely spread in Qingdiazu, in the end, they are only the foundation. Even special techniques like cloud and water seeing Yugong can only be passed down from the content of the primordial realm. After all, it is these immortal sects that cultivate their disciples for their own families, rather than these immortal sects wanting people in this world to have the ability to resist or cause trouble for themselves. In the outer courtyard of this grass spirit immortal sect, although there are several cultivation methods, a disciple of the outer courtyard cannot obtain them unless he has served for the grass spirit immortal sect for 10 years. As for the basic alchemy method, it is relatively easy to obtain in the grass and wood pavilion, but the alchemist and the alchemist are two different things. The former, no matter how skilled they are in alchemy, is only a skilled and skilled tool person. The latter is a combination of alchemy and self-cultivation, capable of achieving enlightenment through alchemy. Brother Yun. Brother Yun. At this moment, Yundan Shi heard a call coming from outside his cave. The cultivator's cave in this immortal city, although named cave, is just an excavated mountain cave. If the cultivators living in it have a relatively high level of cultivation, they may indeed have some of the atmosphere of a monk's cave. However, if their cultivation is average, it is not much different from the mortal dwelling. The only difference is that the spiritual energy is relatively stronger, which has some degree of enhancement for cultivation. But this kind of gain is very subtle, usually it takes about 10 years to see some results. Upon hearing this shout, Yundan Shi already had some guesses in his heart about the purpose of the person coming. However, when he pushed the door open and saw the purple sandalwood box in the other person's hand, he immediately confirmed it. This person is here to find him to refine pills. Because in this month, there have been several disciples from the outer courtyard like the people in front of them. Although alchemists are only tools, such tools are not something that ordinary people can be. Even the Mu-He-Dan that was refined before Yundan Shi is difficult for most disciples in the outer courtyard to refine. However, when it comes to details, it is also related to the cost of using the water grinding table. Everything is natural. Except for the first time when offering free spiritual medicine, the price of Mu-He-Dan collected by Chao Mu Go is 20% lower than the market price. If you bring your own spiritual medicine to refine, Chao Mu Go will charge a premium of 20% higher than the market price. But if it doesn't work, it will take 5 or 6 months to search for the stream stones. The method of learning alchemy that only allows success and does not allow failure naturally makes many disciples from other academies afraid to touch this water grinding platform. As for the method of alchemy furnace fire refining, the use of this alchemy furnace is free, but if you want to use it, you must first report to the corresponding steward disciple and patiently queue up. And usually, this kind of queuing takes about half a year. There are not many disciples from the outer courtyard of the Grass Spirit Immortal sect, but the alchemy furnace is only open for 2 hours a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. This results in only 2 disciples from the outer courtyard being able to try alchemy within a day. Because there is no limit to the time an individual can use the alchemy furnace, it often leads to external disciples who are qualified to use it occupying that hour. And such strict conditions for learning alchemy naturally lead to not many cultivators in this outer courtyard who can refine wood lotus pills. It is said that including Yundan Shi, it is just the number of hands. Therefore, when the news of Yundan Shi refining the mule pill for the first time spread, some disciples from the outer courtyard found him after pondering for a while. How do you call this, senior brother? Yundan Shi clenched his fists because the cultivation level of this outer courtyard disciple was one level higher than him. The initial 5 levels are the realm of energy accumulation. Bai Wei. The disciple from the outer courtyard also bowed back and hurriedly said, Junior brother Yun, I have already prepared the 5 spirit stones from the water grinding platform and 3 parts of the wood lotus pill's spiritual medicine. The water mill needs to consume 5 spirit stones to activate once. Previously, the disciples of the Immortal sect came to give orders, and the grass spirit Immortal sect allowed Yundan Shi to use the water grinding table for free once a month. In a way, it means providing him with 60 spiritual stones every year as cultivation resources. As for how many elixirs can be refined this time, there is no upper limit. Before Yundan Shi, he only refined 1 portion of mula pill because he only had 1 portion of spiritual medicine. However, these 5 spirit stones and 3 elixirs are not actually the charging rules of Yundan Shi. But it was the other 9 disciples from the outer courtyard who were able to refine the wood lotus pill, all priced like this. So when Yundan Shi knew about it, he didn't change and followed suit by charging alchemy fees. 3 parts of spiritual medicine, no matter how many parts are finally refined into mula pill, only 1 part of mula pill needs to be given to the person who provides the spiritual medicine spirit stone. But strangely enough, there have been more and more people coming to Yunjing to cultivate pills recently. From 7 or 8 days in the beginning to 3 or 5 days now. And the disciple in front of him, named Bai Wei from the outer courtyard, had only been separated by a day from the previous one who came to him to refine the wood lotus pill. Not long after, at the water grinding table, Yundan Shi successfully refined all 3 spiritual medicines into mula pill. He gave Bai Wei a share, which can be considered as the 2 Qin dynasties. But Yundan Shi didn't immediately leave. He went to the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and looked at the disciple from the outer courtyard. As expected, he took out 7 spirit stones and said, Junior brother Yun, I want to buy these 2 pieces of mule pills. 7 spirit stones and 2 pieces of wood lotus pills are already a premium of over 20%. Yundan Shi naturally has no objection, because his cloud water seeing Yugong does not use this mudan. This ascetic cultivation technique can be achieved by swallowing top-quality spiritual pills, but basic spiritual pills have little effect. Thank you, Junior brother Yun. Bai Wei expressed his gratitude with a happy expression on his face. This Yun junior brother, who has excellent alchemy talent, is indeed as easy to talk as rumored. You should know that although mudan is available for sale in the grass and wood pavilion, the quantity is limited, and there is no chance to buy a beginner like him with 5 floors. As for the Shangbao Immortal City, although the price of 3 spirit stones and 1 muhidan will never change, there is still a need for connections to buy them. Don't be polite, senior brother Bai. Yundan Shi calculated the spiritual stone in his hand and smiled. Because he can finally buy a prescription for basic pills. Although he can read the alchemy books of the grass and wood pavilion for free, he still needs to pay to purchase this alchemy prescription. Not long after, Yundan Shi took the second elixir of his life. 5 Divine Treasure Spirit Pill. This is a pill that can enhance physical fitness after taking it, and it is also one of the favorite pills for physical cultivation, sword cultivation, magic cultivation, formation cultivation, talisman cultivation, and martial arts cultivation, with a very wide range of applications. With the concept of heavenly health, these 5 divine treasures and spiritual pills are naturally difficult to cultivate in Yunjing. However, when he was taking many 5 divine treasure pills and confirmed that they had no improvement effect on himself, he began to sell them for a fee like mu pills to the public, only to receive a warning letter from the Danshio Alliance. 10. Listed local immortal cultivation organizations. You are listening at novel full.audio. Qingdiazu is a place for cultivating immortals, naturally dominated by various long-standing immortal sections. After all, a mortal dynasty can only last for a few hundred years at most, and it is often an immortal sect that has been passed down for thousands of years. If it were to be defeated by a century-old dynasty, it would be a bit embarrassing. And the alliance is a special product of the cultivation world in Qingyizu. Dan Xiu, Fu Xiu, and Formation Xiu all have alliances. It is impossible to determine who first created the alliance system, because when the first alliance appeared, it not only improved the overall identity and status of this type of cultivator, but also gave the older generation of cultivators a dominant advantage, and the second and third alliances followed closely. The Fu Xiu Alliance, Dan Xiu Alliance, and Formation Xiu Alliance can be said to monopolize the runes, Dan spells, and formations of the entire Qingyizu cultivation world. Especially in the Danxiu Alliance, due to the inclusion of a large number of immortal sects, their behavior is extremely domineering. They not only control the price of spiritual pills in the entire Qingyizu, but also easily make a Danxiu fall into the mortal world and become an alchemist. Of course, it is also possible to have an alchemist ascend to the sky in one step and become a dual practitioner of alchemy in self-cultivation, who can use the alchemy method to prove the Tao. In addition to these three alliances, sword cultivation, physical cultivation, magic cultivation, spell cultivation, and tool cultivation, initially also wanted to create an alliance. But the three types of cultivators, namely Dharma, sword, and body, are completely typical of those who have no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Every time they gather to discuss alliance matters, they inevitably engage in a big fight. Therefore, after seeing blood several times, even Tai Su Jing couldn't help but move his hands a few times, so he simply gave up. Anyway, even if the alliance is not established, the overall status of these three types of cultivators cannot be lower. As for the remaining skill and equipment repairs, the former wanted to form an alliance, but there was never anyone who could stand up and face it, so they had to give up awkwardly. After all, although this method of cultivation has the lowest starting point and is simple and easy to learn, it is also relatively limited in terms of upper limit. So far, only in the rumored ancient times has a Tai Su realm appeared in the practice of martial arts. The latter type of cultivator, on the other hand, is because the composition of these cultivators is too complex. Evil and demonic cultivation accounts for a large part, and ghosts from the underworld also account for a small part. In the end, they simply give up. Equipment cultivation is similar to sword cultivation, Dharma cultivation, and physical cultivation. Even without alliances, this type of cultivator is still extremely powerful. However, at this time, the Danxiu alliance in Shangbao Immortal City cannot be a true Danxiu alliance. It is only some alchemists in Shangbao Immortal City who borrowed the name of the Danxiu alliance. After all, although Shangbao Immortal City carries the word immortal, for those immortal sects, it is not at all considered a blessed place. Official disciples of the immortal sect rarely appear in this Shangbao Immortal City, let alone giants like the Danxiu alliance. At this moment, Yun Jingxiu looked at the warning letter in his hand with a surprised expression on his face. Because in the grass and wood pavilion, there are records of the rules set by the Danxiu alliance, in this area. After careful consideration, Yun Jingxiu was able to confirm that he had not violated the rules of the Danxiu alliance. But why send him a warning letter even if he didn't violate any rules? Is it possible that there are still some rules hidden underwater? Although Yun Jingxiu's emotional intelligence is not high and his intelligence is just like that of ordinary people, without any outstanding qualities, it is not difficult to imagine this. So Yun Jingxiu immediately brought a copy of the 5 Divine Treasures Spirit Pill and went to find Bai Wei. Since the time when this senior brother Bai approached him to refine the Wood Lotus Pill, the two gradually became acquainted, so Bai Wei welcomed Yun Jingxiu's arrival. After all, Yun Jingxiu is already well known at this time. If it weren't for his limited mastery of alchemy types, some people would want to respectfully call him Yundan Master. Although alchemists are not as good as Dan Xiu, they are just tools, but in this Shangbao immortal city, the status of alchemists is still very high. Why did junior brother Yun come over? Bai Wei asked with a smile. Yun Jingxiu didn't waste his time either. He took out the warning letter from the Danxiu Alliance and directly explained his intentions. Is this a warning document from the Danxiu Alliance? Bai Wei was greatly shocked. After all, he was just a young cultivator. With some talent and the care of an elder in the clan, he successfully became a disciple of the grass spirit immortal sect's outer courtyard. Unlike Yun Jingxiu, Bai Wei became a disciple of the grass spirit immortal sect's outer courtyard on the third level of the primordial yuan, and relying on the resources of the outer courtyard, he was able to cultivate to the fifth level of the primordial yuan. In the grass and wood pavilion, the rules of the alliance are recorded in detail, and I believe I have not violated them from beginning to end. Brother Bai, do you know why this is? With these words, Yun Jingxiu took out the portion of the 5 divine treasures spirit pill and pushed it to Bai Wei. These 5 divine treasures and spiritual pills emphasize the cultivation of the 5 internal organs to enhance physical fitness. After taking it for a period of time, Yun Jingxiu's effect was extremely significant, and his energy more than doubled. Even if he doesn't rest for half a month, he won't feel any fatigue. Bai Wei had some reservations at first, but when he saw the 5 divine treasures spirit pill, he immediately changed his mind and said, Junior brother Yun, I'm not sure about the potential rules of the Danxiu Alliance. However, I accidentally heard someone mention something before, and I feel that it may be related to this document. Please inform senior brother Bai. Yun junior brother, when you had a conflict with Lin Zhanqing senior brother before, Lin Zhanqing senior brother's backer happened to pass by a young master of one of the 8 major families in the immortal city. If you had indirectly lost face with Lin Zhanqing senior brother's backer at that time, and Lin Zhanqing senior brother's backer was an alchemist. Upon hearing this, Yun Jingxiu searched for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, but at first he didn't remember when it happened, but soon he also realized. Because what Bai Wei said at this time can only be what he encountered after completing the Creek Water Stone mission. Can that also be considered as me saving his face? Yun Jingxiu was somewhat surprised. How small is that mind? How domineering is a person to be? Junior brother Yun, you should also know that they are formal disciples and treat us disciples from the outer courtyard, not to mention being fellow disciples, as if they are not considered human beings. Bai Wei said in a faint tone. The term begging for cultivation is a term used by these formal disciples of the immortal sect to refer to those who come from casual cultivation backgrounds. Yun Jingxiu nodded slightly, as if lost in thought. At this moment, Bai Wei gritted his teeth and said, Yun junior brother, you have a talent for alchemy, and the immortal sect will naturally value you. However, in this way, it means you have taken away some people's resources. Yun junior brother, perhaps you can ask Lin Zhanqing senior brother. Maybe the immortal sect has sent you something. If you do something wrong, they have a reason to swallow it rightfully. They have done many things in the past. It can be seen that Bai Wei originally didn't want to say these words, or rather dared not say them, but when he answered Yun Jingxiu, it seemed that he accidentally triggered some bad memories, which made him unable to resist speaking. Thank you very much, senior brother Bai. After thanking him, Yun Jingxiu didn't ask further because he could tell that Bai Wei didn't want to continue, so he stood up and said goodbye. But he didn't immediately go to find Lin Zhanqing. Yun Jingxiu went to visit several other disciples in the outer courtyard who had alchemy qualifications. Although he is not familiar with these people, it is not difficult for him to meet them.